Coming up on We Talk News this week, it's Monday, July 22nd, and it's the final day to make your voice heard to the DEA about rescheduling cannabis away from Schedule 1 of the CSA. And with 6 months past in 2024, California remains the revenue king of sales of cannabis in the U.S., but Michigan is number 2, and Michigan is selling more per capita than the Golden State. And Pennsylvania packs in their adult use legalization effort for the year, while Wiz Khalifa is arrested in Romania for public consumption of cannabis on stage, joining Nicki Minaj as American music celebrities who thumb their noses at the more strict foreign cannabis laws, while Snoop Dogg opens his own dispensary and cannabis strain, but he'd better not bring any samples to Paris for the Olympics. Plus, the FDA finally does something about the unregulated, out-of-control Delta 8 market, but still offers no federal guidelines for cannabinoid infusion in food or beverages. And a new study concludes that cannabis improves sexual enjoyment, but more importantly, helps cut down instances of violent domestic abuse. All that and coast-to-coast cannabis news on We Talk News with Alaina Pinto. Next.
Music Studio.
We are Pro Cannabis Media.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to We Talk News, Pro Cannabis Media's weekly production of cannabis news from coast to coast. I'm Alaina Pinto. We released this week's news on July 22nd, the very last day you can share your opinion on the proposed move of cannabis off Schedule 1 of the Controlled Substances Act. Last year, the Health and Human Services Department urged the DEA to move cannabis to Schedule 3, where it would still be an illegal controlled substance, but would rid the industry of the dreaded 280E tax code. Now, the industry would really like to see cannabis completely descheduled. It would allow cannabis businesses to write off the same business expenses of every other industry in the United States. And that would rid one of the most restrictive, unjust restrictions of free trade against the billion-dollar business. To take you right to the comment page on the DEA's website, just cut and paste the link to the regulations.gov page or use the QR code on the screen to take you directly there. There have already been over 30,000 comments submitted, but considering there are over 62 million users of the plant regularly, that's just over 20% of the total population in this country. So if you haven't submitted your thoughts, the clock is ticking. The prohibitionist movement has been emboldened by the recent Supreme Court decision to take scheduling power away from federal agencies. It's just another reason why it's important for the public to continue to comment to the DEA. And also the fact that the Republican House is trying to stop the rescheduling movement is another reason why you should comment as well. So it's the last 24 hours to comment, so get after it. Now with more cannabis news, here's PCM founder Jimmy Young.
Thanks, Alaina. Andrew Berenger is off this week, and I'm PCM founder Jimmy Young, and this is the Washington, D.C. Report for We Talk News. Another reminder, July 22nd is the deadline day for the public to comment on the proposed move of cannabis off Schedule 1 of the CSA to Schedule 3. Now, that would allow cannabis businesses to write off regular expenses, just like every other business in the U.S., getting rid of that horrible 280E exception. Now, it also, however, would keep cannabis illegal and controlled at the federal level. So use the QR code to connect directly to the regulations.gov website to have your voices heard in support of the move. The Pro Cannabis Media comment is posted on our website under the blogs tab. And another move in Washington, D.C. this week is the introduction of the Debi Act by Democratic Senator Gary Peters from Michigan. The acronym stands for the Dismantling Outdated Obstacles and Barriers to Individual Employment Act, aka the Debi Act. That, if enacted, would protect people who apply for federal employment to be denied for a job because of past use of cannabis. Now, also in D.C. this week, the FDA has sent a cease and desist order to a number of companies who are creating edible products with synthetic Delta 8 THC. And yes, they resemble more popular junk food snack products. 2 of the 5 companies cited by the FDA and the Federal Trade Commission included Hippie Hood and Earthly Hemps. They were told to take them off the shelves or face more penalties and fines. Now, just before July 4th, the Supreme Court overturned that Chevron law that had stood for 40 years. This will delay the already ongoing process of rescheduling cannabis off the CSA's most restrictive Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. But if the court has undercut that process by taking the right to reschedule away from the federal agencies, all eyes then will return to Congress to do the right thing and deschedule cannabis and create a new federal regulatory commission to oversee all derivatives of the cannabis sativa plant once and for all, thus making up for the mistakes learned by the Farm Bill of 2018 that for all intents and purposes exposed the ignorance of our elected officials by legalizing the cannabis sativa plant and focusing on the percentages of THC, the intoxicating cannabinoid, in the plant. This all can be changed with the acceptance of the CAOA bill that Senator Chuck Schumer has on the floor of the Senate for discussion right now. That's the Washington, D.C. Cannabis Report for this week. I'm PCM founder Jimmy Young. Now, back to Alaina Pinto and more of Weed Talk News.
The first half of 2024 6-month sales numbers have been collected. And once again, California is still number 1 in terms of revenue sales. But Michigan is a strong number 2 in revenue and is now number 1 in per capita or total number of products sold. Pretty incredible achievement considering the population differences between the 2 states. California with just under 39 million people and Michigan ranks 10th with just over 10 million. So needless to say, those figures make our Michigan weedster, Amy Carter, very happy and proud. Here she is.
I am very proud of our state. Michigan has done a great job in the cannabis industry in a whole. Our lawmakers could have done a little bit better in the way that they did things and the way things went. There are some changes that need to be made. But all in all, the education that I think we did from 2008 to now has really got the Michiganders wanting to partake, wanting to heal. And so we're doing really great up here.
And yet you're still frustrated with the fact that you have to educate more lawmakers about this plant as a medicine, aren't you?
Yes, definitely. Because I found out recently that some of the lawmakers don't consider any cannabis medicine. And that really upset me, given the fact I have a pediatric patient and it changed his life. So we definitely need to get in there and educate these lawmakers because they've been making decisions that are based on dollar signs and not based on, the Michigan residents here.
What do musician and actor celebrities like Louis Armstrong, John Lennon, Bob Marley, David Bowie, Snoop Dogg, and Bill Murray have in common with Nicki Minaj and Wiz Khalifa? Well, all have been busted for cannabis possession, both here in the United States and in Europe. This past week, it was rapper Wiz Khalifa who was arrested in Romania for public consumption of cannabis on stage at a concert. Khalifa was headlining the Beach Please festival on the Black Sea coast in the village of Costanesti, when he fired up a doobie on stage. He was quickly escorted off stage by Romanian police. The rap star was detained and released after showing respect for the Romanian authorities. He was found to have 18 milligrams on his possession and would have faced as much as 10 years in prison, but the police must have been fans since he was released. Khalifa was the second major musician who has been detained by European law enforcement in 2024. In May of this year, Nicki Minaj was arrested in Amsterdam in the Netherlands and had to cancel her concert there. She was later released as well. Snoop Dogg may be the leader of most celebrity arrests for weed since he's been cited 10 times over the past decade alone. He opened his first dispensary this past week in LA and released a strain honoring the late Tupac as part of his death row cannabis products. Snoop is heading to the Paris Olympics as a member of the NBC sports crew. France has very restrictive rules regarding cannabis, so don't be surprised if he gets detained in France at some point. What will be a surprise is the start of adult use sales in Ohio. Many in that state were ready for a launch in June, and now in the last full week of July, the opening is still imminent. So what's the delay? Well, our man in Ohio is Harry Bernstein, and he has the latest on opening day in his Ohio report, now sponsored by Yellow Labs and Better Ways to THC.com.
In Loveland, Ohio, Emily and Mark seek to deepen their bond through intimacy. They turn to Yellow Labs Rose Oil Massage Cream with delivery technology, promising enhanced pleasure and connection. The cream ignites increased sensitivity and arousal as they apply it, kindling a shared passion. Excited by its effects, they find joy in shared closeness and moments of unity.
This is Harry Bernstein with Verde Compliance Partners and the Ohio Cannabis Report for Weed Talk News. As we've been reporting, Ohio's adult use cannabis market is on the verge of launching, but still in a holding pattern as the state has over 60 licensees awaiting their final inspection. These inspections would allow them to begin selling cannabis to adults over 21 years old when they pass. Those final inspections could be completed any day, allowing adults in Ohio the freedom to buy and consume cannabis products. In other news, Ohio bureaucrats continue to prevent autistic individuals from accessing cannabis to treat their symptoms. Autism advocates have been pushing for years to add autism spectrum disorder, or ASD, to the list of approved medical conditions for cannabis use. However, powerful opponents, including the insurance companies and hospitals, have resisted these efforts due to the potential impact on their bottom line. Recently, on July 14, 2024, the State Medical Board of Ohio once again put corporate profits over people's health and rejected proposals to add autism and female orgasmic difficulty disorder to the medical marijuana list. This decision followed testimony from several experts, primarily from within the healthcare industry, which could lose patients if this alternative treatment is approved. Despite the ongoing advocacy, Ohio regulators, influenced by these industry lobbyists, continue to deny those with autism the opportunity to use cannabis as an alternative treatment. That's the Ohio Cannabis Report for this week. I'm Harry Bernstein with Verde Compliance Partners, reporting for Weed Talk News.
The Ohio Cannabis Report is supported by Yellow Labs and Better Ways to THC.com. Search for Yellow Labs near me and find one of 40 dispensaries in Ohio carrying these amazing mists and creams.
While the race for the 25th adult use legal state continues, Pennsylvania is packing in their efforts for this year as the bipartisan political divide in that state was just too much to overcome. But don't blame their governor, Josh Shapiro. He was pushing to add it to their annual budget in order to take advantage of the tax revenue generated with an adult use market. Some Democrats wanted a similar model to that state's liquor industry, while the Black Caucus in that state wanted to make sure that those most impacted by the failed war on drugs would have expungement and other social equity provisions in whatever the new laws would look like. So with vacation on the calendar, the legislature adjourned without any movement. The governor was able to get a bill easing state restrictions on the 280E tax code approved. So at least there will be a break for the existing medical cannabis industry in the Keystone State. Minnesota is one of the newest adult use legal states, and their market has yet to officially open, but there is already an uptick in driving under the influence arrests in that state. If you look at the history of new states, most have initial increases in DUIs, but as the novelty wears off and people become more knowledgeable about their use and tolerance, those statistics do go down. Well, next up is Arizona, where the heat has been baking and Karen Black has been surviving. Here's her Arizona report this week.
I'm Karen Black from Greenfinger Consulting with the Arizona Cannabis Report for Weed Talk News. July 17th through 23rd is Hemp Week, so here's a quick snapshot of Arizona's hemp market. Since re-legalization, hemp cultivation in Arizona plummeted by 97% from over 5,400 acres planted in 2019 to just 156 acres in 2021, the most recent data I could find. Initial challenges included THC levels exceeding legal limits, odor issues during our hot summers, and a lack of buyers. Fast forward to 2023, and growers face similar environmental and agronomic issues, compounded by new laboratory testing requirements and CBD market oversaturation. Then in mid-2024, the Arizona Attorney General's office announced that products containing hemp-derived intoxicants can now only be sold in licensed marijuana dispensaries. Despite all these hurdles, several Arizona companies are making very good use of this no-waste wonder plant. Botanic Bioplastics in Mesa is replacing single-use plastics with its hemp-based alternatives. Old Pueblo Hemp Co. in Tucson is building with hempcrete, and Elevado in Gilbert has award-winning handcrafted hemp-infused drinks. The Hemp Industry Trade Association of Arizona had a successful networking event in Phoenix last week, perhaps a sign the best hemp years in Arizona are yet to come. On the cannabis front, preliminary data shows Arizona's cannabis sales for June 2024 at nearly $93 million, down almost 17% from 2022. The average item price also dropped from $21.56 to $18.68, reflecting a 13% decrease year over year. According to Headset.io, these declines suggest a cooling period for the market, driven by increased competition and market saturation. In other news, the Arizona Department of Transportation turns 50 this month, and it just released its annual motor vehicles crash facts report. While the total number of crashes increased by 1.6% in 2023 over 2022, traffic fatalities were down by 1%. However, crashes involving cannabis-impaired drivers increased slightly, contributing to 15 more injury crashes and 48 more fatal crashes, a 2.3% increase, and a trend in the wrong direction. That's this week's Arizona Cannabis Report. I'm Karen Black from Greenfinger Consulting reporting for Weed Talk News.
Well, that'll do it for the A block or the first section of Weed Talk News for this week, but don't go away. Weed Talk News continues with more state reports, plus some new research on how cannabis can improve your sex life. Don't go away.
It's a whole new world of weed out there, isn't it? Everyone is learning new ways to titrate, ingest, consume, imbibe, and engage with this plant medicine we call cannabis. Now, let me tell you my cannabis story. You know, I've had 4 major surgeries in the past 23 years and suffer from osteoarthritis with a variety of metal parts in my body and one on deck. Now, thanks to those chronic pain issues, I've been a medical patient in Massachusetts for almost 10 years now. I remember my first trip to a dispensary just outside of Boston, and I told the bud tender I didn't want to smoke it anymore. So I tried edibles, then tinctures, then vaping, and now if I'm going to smoke, I only use the Weedgets filtration system. What? The Weedgets.com, Weedgets, that's weed, W-E-E-D, G-E-T-S.com, is where you'll find the planet's coolest product that cools the smoke from everyone's favorite flower. The guy that started this was a pretty good medical device manufacturer, and he created this maze pipe that cools the smoking process from 1300 degrees Fahrenheit upon inflammation down to just 90 degrees when it reaches your mouth. That's right, 1300 down to 90. That's why this maze pipe is amazing. Now, add in the code of PCMTV and you get 15% off. So just go to Weejits.com and check out the best way to enjoy a cooler smoke with less coughing and hacking and more peace of mind.
We are Pro Cannabis Media.
Welcome back to Weed Talk News, Pro Cannabis Media's weekly roundup of cannabis news from coast to coast. I'm Alaina Pinto. The state of New York continues to crack down on its flourishing illegal storefronts and unlicensed products. New York City Mayor Eric Adams was on hand for 2 busts in his city that shut down over $1 million worth of illegal products in 2 different locations in the Bronx. One in a bodega or a convenience store and the other in a deli. The operation, called Padlock, to protect confiscated cannabis-infused items and even magic mushrooms that were being sold to underage young people. Well, Oregon may feature one of the nation's most vibrant cannabis markets, but they too are suffering from issues that plague many states. One is the formation of unions, and the other is the obsession with THC percentages. There seems to be a lack of knowledge of consumers and with lawmakers about the misguided buying decisions over the percentage of THC in products. That's the intoxicating cannabinoid in the plant that works in conjunction with the terpenes and flavonoids that impact its effects. Marianne Cursetjee is back in Oregon and has her weekly report from a state that continues to struggle with normalization and acceptance. Here she is.
I'm Marianne from Alibi with this week's Oregon Cannabis Report for Weed Talk News. This week, Oregon Majority Leader Representative Ben Bowman met with cannabis industry leaders at the monthly CHOW meeting. Representative Bowman heard stories of frustration with metric and regulatory overreach. It's encouraging that he's willing to have conversations to move us towards a normalized industry. Next, the UFCW union has filed an initiative to require all licensed cannabis businesses in Oregon to sign a labor peace agreement. This could have huge ramifications for the industry, as there are many licensees and a large percentage of them are small business. There have been notable instances of unsafe workplaces, and these situations have led to unionizing efforts. Currently, the rule in California applies only to employers with 10 or more employees. The proposed ballot measure in Oregon applies to all cannabis licensees regardless of size. And finally, the OLCC continues to expand its shelf audit of flower potency. The focus on potency in flower and flower products seems to be a totally misguided effort. The current paradigm across the entire supply chain, from buyers to customers, is generally about THC score. This has caused farms to only grow high potency genetics and also caused the unnatural obsession with potency. Stay tuned for next week for ideas about how to fix this problem. That's the Oregon Cannabis Report for this week. I'm Marianne with Alibi.
The state of Kentucky is moving in a pro-cannabis direction under the leadership of their governor, Andy Beshear. One of the states that was one of the biggest beneficiaries of the 2018 Farm Bill. The hemp market has been pretty volatile since its inception. Well, now their medical cannabis program is starting to take shape for 2025. This week, Governor Beshear urged the DEA to reschedule cannabis to Schedule 3, but it has not been an easy grow for farmers. The industry there is urging to increase the legal THC percentage from 0.3% to 1%. But like most of the progress on reform, it is a slow process. Prohibitionists continue to misinterpret the importance of the percentage of THC as the only factor in the intoxication effects in this plant. But like many in the industry, all eyes are on the next version of the Farm Bill, and that continues to be politicized by the partisan divide in this country. Meanwhile, in Nevada, that state has launched one of the country's most active social clubs, and now they are discussing opening cannabis social pop-ups for 2025. Here's Tina Tasaka with more from Nevada.
I'm Tina Tasaka with 420 Technologies, and I'm reporting from the exquisite Lake Las Vegas Resort for Weed Talk News. There's very exciting news going on at the California State Fair. Why do I tell you this from sizzling Las Vegas? Visitors from Nevada, including officials from the entertainment capital of the world, recently attended the first ever cannabis lounge at the California State Fair. Their goal was to gather insights for launching and regulating similar pop-up lounges in Nevada. In 2023, lawmakers proposed mobile cannabis lounges to the Nevada legislature, but the bill did not pass. Clark County Chair Tick Sigerbloom, Nevada House Speaker Steve Yeager, State Senator Dallas Harris, and various Clark County business license officials visited the cannabis exhibit and lounge in Sacramento. The exhibit, open only to those 21 and older, was monitored by California state regulators to ensure proper sale and use of cannabis products in designated areas. Sigerbloom mentioned plans to propose another bill for the 2025 legislative session. Reflecting on past experiences, he said, "When we first started in 2013 to legalize dispensaries, we went to Phoenix to see how they did it. We brought that knowledge back to Carson City, which helped us pass the bill. The idea now is to see how it works in California, and if it seems feasible, bring it to Carson City again." The cannabis lounges are designed with controlled access, including fences and security guards to maintain order. Separate areas or tents are designed for purchasing and consuming edibles and smoking. Sigerbloom highlighted the recent launch of 2 cannabis lounges in Clark County, which could pave the way for pop-up tents at events with high demand, such as the EDC, the Las Vegas Festival Grounds, and MJ BizCon, a large cannabis convention. The introduction of cannabis lounges has faced scrutiny from law enforcement and the Cannabis Compliance Board, leading to stringent regulations to prevent DUIs and ensure customers do not drive while impaired. Sigerbloom believes that large festivals are ideal for pop-up lounges as tourists typically stay for extended periods. These events are contained environments where attendees either walk back to their hotels or take transportations like buses or helicopters. They already have bars, making them a suitable venue for cannabis lounges. Sigerbloom explained, "Well, we certainly will benefit greatly with the pop-ups in many situations and events." That's it for the 702, reporting from beautiful Lake Las Vegas. I'm Tina Tasaka with 420 Technologies and Weed Talk News. Here's my colleague, Joe Parsons from Virginia. He had an opportunity to interview the 420 comic from Las Vegas. Take it away, Joe.
Thank you, Tina. I hope you're staying cool out there in the 702. I'm Joe Parsons with the Virginia Cannabis Connection, and this is the Virginia Cannabis Report on Pro Cannabis Media's Weed Talk News. You know, with all the doom and gloom going on lately, I thought for this week it'd be a little fun to reach out to Jeffrey Peterson from Las Vegas, Nevada. He's also known as the 420 comic. Jeffrey has earned this title because not only is he an amazing comic that has performed along the likes of Chris Rock, Joe Rogan, and even Tommy Chong, he's a notable comic book illustrator that has written for DC, Marvel, and many others. Also a notable cartoon animator for Warner Brothers. He's been running his own comic book company called Cali Chronics Comics, and over the last year, he's even had a residency at the world's largest cannabis dispensary, Las Vegas' own Planet 13. So when you think of Las Vegas, you tend to think of Wayne Newton and Jeffrey Peterson, the 420 comic.
One thing that I really found fascinating is Planet 13, which is literally the world's largest cannabis shop. Tell us about your time there.
Oh, it was fun. I had a great time. I had a residency, first comedian to have a residency at a dispensary in Vegas, much less the world's largest dispensary. And we did that in February and March. I had that for 2 months, and that's a pretty good time for a residency in Vegas. They had my billboards up there and stuff. And the neat thing about that is that every time I get a billboard that has anything to do with cannabis, it's a step forward for everybody. So, and that was important. And so I had some great comedians in there: Stoner Rob, John DeResta, Smiley Joe Wiley. We just had some great times. That was something that I consider to be groundbreaking. Now what I'm doing is very fun. I'm the host of Shakedown Vegas. I host the Dead and Company pre-party and after party at the Tuscany Casino in Las Vegas. So that's been a lot of fun.
Fantastic.
I get to wear shorts on stage, so it's fun.
Right. Win-win, right? Especially because it's been pretty hot out there, right? It's been like 120, right? It's been crazy.
Yeah, we just got 150, whatever.
Oh, wow.
We don't know. If you catch on fire, it's too hot. And I'll be back again August 1st, 2nd and 3rd, and then August 8th, 9th, and 10th. And you can catch me 2 times a day at the Tuscany Casino. And this has been a lot of fun to work with the Dead heads and the Dead and Company fan base. That's been a lot of fun.
Thank you so much, because the world needs more laughter, especially like in these trying times now. This entire week has just been filled with doom and gloom. So that was the biggest reason that I wanted to reach out to someone that not only makes a difference, but someone that's fun. And you are definitely fun.
Yeah.
Is there anything major that you would like to get out there? Is there any message that you want, to be heard from coast to coast?
Well, you know what? My message is pretty simple these days. At 56, I'm in the a different phase of my career, and so I'm very happy to be the destination that you make when you come to Las Vegas. I'm a Las Vegas headliner and a resident, so I plan on getting another residency here after my time here with the Dead and Company and Shakedown Vegas, and I want to be your cannabis comedian that you come to Vegas to see.
Once again, I'm Joe Parsons from the Virginia Cannabis Connection and Pro Cannabis Media's Weed Talk News. Until next time, everyone, stay lifted.
Delaware is moving forward with their plans to open adult use sales through their existing medical dispensaries. This past week, their governor, John Carney, signed a law allowing the existing medical dispensaries to sell and operate for all adults over the age of 21. This dual licensing effort was first introduced in Arizona in 2021 and now has been copied by many other states who had existing medical programs before opening sales to all adults. Ohio is still waiting to launch their adult use market using their existing medical dispensaries, and now Delaware will give first priority to theirs. In the meantime, Missouri continues to thrive with open public consumption at events and record-setting sales results. That state is raising the allowable amount of vitamin E acetate in their concentrates delivered by vaping. That development has raised a few eyebrows since it was vitamin E acetate that was blamed for the vape crisis a few years ago. Fresh off the disabled list is our Missouri correspondent, Brandon Jones. Here he is.
Hey everybody, it's Brandon Jones with B Green Distribution with the Missouri Cannabis Report for Weed Talk News. And yes, I'm outside the Kansas City Current Stadium, the beautiful soccer stadium here built for the women here in Kansas City, the first fully sustainable stadium here built in Missouri and the largest soccer stadium for women in the world. Had a tournament here last night, first round. Current were playing, so it's a great place to come out. Beautiful stadium right by the Riverwalk. And just right down the street, they're actually having an art garden festival where they're allowing vendors. And yes, there is cannabis and THCA sales going on just about 100 yards down the block. But we do need to talk about the fun, not so fun story that just came out about the acetone and vitamin E released that are allowing 25 times more into licensed facilities products. Why do these vapes get 25% more vitamin E acetone? I don't understand. It's not organic. It's not good for you. It doesn't do anything positive for our body. So why is DHSS allowing for these facilities to have 25 times more than they did just in February? I don't understand. Cannabis is medicine to me. That's what it should be for everyone, and we should make it as clean as possible. So get out to Kansas City, get out to Missouri, take in this beautiful weather, these beautiful events, and yes, come see a game at the Current. I'm Brandon Jones with B Green Distribution with the Missouri Cannabis Report for Weed Talk News. Everybody stay medicated and educated.
Now let's check in on the publicly traded stocks in cannabis with our own day trader, Doug Miller, who is high on Wall Street.
I'm Doug Miller from High on Wall Street with this week's cannabis stock report for Weed Talk News. Several European cannabis startups are considering listing on the New York Stock Exchange as federal authorities propose to declassify marijuana. Europe still has relatively strict rules regarding which CBD products are legal. Federal law still prohibits major U.S. cannabis companies such as Trulieve, Curaleaf, Verano, and Cresco Labs from listing on the U.S. exchanges, such as the New York Stock Exchange. Many of these companies choose to trade on Canadian Securities Exchange. How do companies not based in the U.S. trade on the New York Stock Exchange and not the U.S. cannabis companies? Well, it comes down to the fact that it's still federally illegal in the U.S., so the U.S. companies have to list on Canadian exchanges. Canadian companies can list on the New York Stock Exchange because cannabis is federally legal in Canada, so they allow these companies to list on the U.S. exchanges. And that's this week's Cannabis Stock Report. Reporting for Weed Talk News, I'm Doug Miller.
That'll do it for the B block for this week, but we still have a few more stories to share in the C block, including the one about how cannabis can improve your sex life and why it has helped to cut down on domestic violence. As Weed Talk News continues after this.
Yeah, it's a great question because cannabis is very exciting. It's almost like, mom and pop drugstores. You could start whatever you wanted. You could be pretty successful. And then there are the business people who see the revenue potential. And those are the ones that I think that are going to become the buyers going forward. And then smaller companies will be the sellers. And then there'll be another group of like, what the heck happened? And there'll probably be some craft survivors as well. But I think, the access to capital and business, this is becoming a mature business, just like craft beer or the car industry from, the 1910s to today. Yeah, I think Schedule 3 will have radical changes. I think we're going to see consolidation in the space independent of Schedule 3. Schedule 3 will influence the flavor of the consolidation, but it's going to happen no matter what.
Will that open up more capital?
It'll open up more capital, more access. One way or another, as the industry consolidates, they're going to have to get access to capital. The buyers will, and that's going to change the markets fundamentally.
We are Pro Cannabis Media.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Weed Talk News. This is the C block, or the final section of this week's show. And now let's check in with California. That state's fair kicked off 2 weeks of activities and exhibitions this week. It also kicked off legal sales and consumption of cannabis in designated areas at the 350-acre Cal Expo site near downtown Sacramento. This is the first state fair to allow sales and consumption. There are strict age restrictions and controlled areas for now legal activities. That includes a 30,000 square foot area for consumption and sales of flower, concentrates, edibles, and topicals. In other California cannabis news, legendary rapper Snoop Dogg opened his first dispensary in LA near the airport. That dispensary is also launching a strain named after Tupac, the legendary rapper who was a big influencer of Snoop. One more California news item reported by Weed Week involves the arrest of a detective with the State Department of Cannabis Control, who was allegedly dealing guns and other weapons. The detective, Corey Harris, is charged with trafficking firearms and dealing and manufacturing firearms without a license. Each charge carries a maximum penalty of 15 years in prison. He has pleaded not guilty to the charges. Now it is time to go north of the border to Canada to check with Debi Facey with her Cannabis Report.
This is Debi Facey with the Canadian Strain of the Week. So what we have this week in Canada is the government responding to the questionable increase of 10 milligrams to 100 milligrams when it comes to our edibles. The market, I should say, has come up with the argument that with the illicit market being out there and being able to provide up to and over the amount of 10 milligrams, it doesn't necessarily give the legal market a fair chance. That being said, though, there still isn't enough research and development when it comes to bringing that to the OCS. So that is something that we will hopefully see maybe when it comes to an increase, but I hope not that big of a jump, just due to the fact that it will be something that could be detrimental to some of our consumers. Next, what we have is British Columbia allowing sampling. So they are now allowing you to sample the products within a store licensing setting. This will obviously help a lot of consumers be able to know when it comes to cannabis for them, which ones they like, which ones they don't like. But at the same time, it will also give them a safe place to try it. So in case anything does go wrong, they're able to get help. Last but not least, we have is Sundial announcing that they are restructuring their team, which means layoffs. But in their eyes, they're looking at this way being able to skew down and be able to rework what they actually are failing at, and hopefully with that create some sort of success and some rebuilding in the long run. This is Debi Facey with your Canadian Strain of the Week. Peace.
Remember a few weeks ago, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis aligned himself with the unregulated Delta-8 hemp-derived products in his state? He did that in order to counter the movement to legalize adult use of cannabis in that state that is being run by a group called Smart and Safe Florida that is spearheading the legalization ballot initiative. Well, now that unregulated market is embracing the governor's effort by throwing millions of dollars into defeating the ballot initiative. This is a prime example of why regulation of the same plant has to be streamlined and consistent, and that must start at the federal level first. Think about millions of dollars that are being used to further one side or the other's agenda over the very same plant. Well, now it's time for the Garden State Cannabis Report. Here's Jill Goldsberry.
Hello, Jill here with Weed Talk News New Jersey and the New Jersey Report. And here's what's been happening. A lot is going on this week and a lot is coming up. We have two very prominent New Jersey brands that are expanding and opening. If you've been following the journey of Shakir Johnson of Simply Pure, then you may have heard that Simply Pure Trenton is opening. They are having a grand opening event this week in their Trenton location. It's been a long time coming for this location, and this week, and we're in touch with this team, so we hope to be able to get in touch with Tahir and get a few words with him before the actual opening on the July 27th. It will include a meet and greet with rapper Jim Jones and a few other details and surprises are coming up. Go on to their social media to check out more information on that. And we have another New Jersey brand in addition to Simply Pure. This is a woman-owned brand, Butter Cake, out of New Jersey, the edible brand with those delicious brownies that everyone's been raving about all over New Jersey in the dispensaries. The first New Jersey brand to have a brownie at dispensaries in Jersey. And so the big news with Butter Cake is they're preparing to launch in the state of Maryland. And this is set to happen very soon. From what I understand, the little birdies that are telling me, I don't have exact dates yet, but It is set to launch very, very soon. So look out for that. And we're hearing that New Jersey is becoming the hub for cannabis education. And with that in mind, Stockton University is now become the first school in New Jersey to offer degrees in hemp and cannabis management. The curriculum is set to start this fall, and New Jersey is set to, we're on pace to do about $1 billion in cannabis sales this year. So the market is here, and now we are set to be the leader in cannabis education with the first bachelor's degree program coming out of Stockton, New Jersey. And that's the news on New Jersey cannabis. I'm Jill Goldsberry with your New Jersey Report. Thanks for watching.
A relatively new feature of our weekly news show is our one-on-ones with various members of the Weed Talk News team. This week, the Shake Man, Kevin Shakir, meets up with a Colorado transplant in Arkansas. Here's Kevin.
It is the Shake Man, Kevin Shakir, right here at Weed Talk News, and this is one-on-one at Chiba Hut.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we're here with Dane, the owner of Chiba Hut. That's right. The owner, I get to speak to him personally about all the things that's going on. And I know you got a lot. I've been seeing so many cars around here in Fayetteville. They stop through, but they've really been stopping through. Why don't you elaborate a little bit on it, my man?
Sure. This is week 7 that we're open. We've been absolutely blessed by the community here in Fayetteville, and the support has just been insane. I've been getting my butt kicked for 7 weeks straight.
So you've been putting out a lot of good sandwiches and more that you can elaborate on.
Man, we do sandwiches, toasted subs, we do munchies, which are our Rice Krispie treats and cookies, our cottonmouth cures like Kool-Aid, the only place you can get Kool-Aid on draft. And we also do subs as salads too. So any sub we got, we can make it into a salad. Got great vegetarian options. Honestly, you can throw a dart at the menu and you can't miss.
That's what I'm talking about. And you can definitely tell that by how many cars are here and the happiness of the people. They all leave with a smile. Every time I see them leaving, they're smiling. Some of them have bags, most of them don't. Yes. There's some interesting things going on in Arkansas. I'm coming here from California.
Sure.
So, it's a little different from me, but it's still pleasant. I know that the medical side is here, but the recreational is up for a vote. How do you feel about that as far as, what's going on and the legalization, the Schedule 3 and all of it?
Sure, and I've been in the cannabis industry for the past 7 years in Colorado. I still own 2 dispensaries and 3 grows, and I think Colorado really got it right when it comes to accessibility of cannabis, and I think that Arkansas definitely needs some retooling to make cannabis more available to a lot more people. I feel like it is very restricted here and a little monopolized.
I am new to the actual area, so it's hard for me to get an opinion right now. But I know that with the medical side, it's kind of it is restricted, and I think just from some of the reporting I've done, you see where the actual vigor to vote it in and the actual amount of cannabis that can't be gotten to.
Sure.
Is really showing. So you have I think the sales were down in June. There's a couple of reasons for that. But as far as, the accessibility for patients is very minimal.
Yes, and I'm not 100% up to date, but back when issue 6 passed in Arkansas is when I got the heck out of here and went to Colorado to grow weed. That's pretty much was the deciding factor for me and why I went to Colorado is because I did apply for a growing license here. Unfortunately, there was a lot of stuff that happened.
Exactly.
You can Google it. But they only issued 4 grow licenses for the entire state and only 32 dispensary licenses with a maximum of 2 per county.
And we just had one of them actually have their license revoked.
I'm not familiar with that. Yes, I can tell you all about Colorado law.
Yeah, that just happened. I just reported on that. That was my last report, and we'll be going more in depth about that. So
Sure.
yeah,
Did it
urge
have
you
something to do with racketeering?
it had something to do basically with just selling bad products.
Oh, understood.
So that's I don't know which one is the worst of two evils.
Well,
You got a lot going on here, but I think that it's a slow process with that to change it. I know as far as the food industry, you're changing the outlook on just the persona of the building, and that opens up I think everyone's minds. You're having a lot of folks move in from different areas.
Yeah, exactly. So the goal of Chiba Hut is to destigmatize cannabis altogether. And that's what really drew me to Chiba Hut. We like to tell people we are stoner professionals, not professional stoners. So this is definitely a family environment. Yes, we do have cannabis leaves up, but it doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. Everybody's welcome at the hut.
That's wonderful. And like I said, it definitely has a welcoming environment. Is there anything else you'd like to elaborate on?
Oh, yes. We really believe in giving back to our community, and pretty much just from the ground level, come in and try our food. But there's a reason why our food tastes so good is because we're double the minimum wage right now at Chiba Hut plus tip outs. Pretty much our starting beginning wage is $24 an hour. We definitely believe in taking care of the people that work for us, but just pretty much creating an environment where people are excited to come to work and build an actual family, not the stereotypical, we're a family here where we work. No, I genuinely want to create an environment that people feel comfortable and they love coming to work, and that really translates into our food. We're also partnered with Smoke Out Injustice. So every year on Chiba Hut's birthday, we donate, I think it's 25% of our sales to Smoke Out Injustice. What Smoke Out Injustice is basically a group that gets people's records cleared off for nonviolent drug offenses, specifically cannabis.
That's good. So basically, you're definitely giving back that away, and that's something that needs to definitely be addressed by all on a national level. So I know with Schedule 3, there's going to be some changes going on. If we could go ahead and get all the kinks worked out of there.
Sure.
Yeah, I just again, I enjoy you inviting me out here, Dane. Folks, I am going to try a sandwich. I don't know which one is going to be my favorite, but I will make sure.
And he's going to film the whole thing and eat it from
That's right. I can't fudge.
Exactly.
You see that? So you'll see from start to finish with that. Yes. But again, this is Kevin Shakir with Dane, the owner of Chiba Hut. We welcome Chiba Hut. And just in case you didn't know what Chiba standed for, it was marijuana in Mexico back in the day. That was a little slang word that they had. So just wanted to add that in there too. Again, for We Talk News, this is Kevin Shakir, the correspondent out here in Arkansas. And you stay well, and we're going to do what we do right now and have a sandwich for you.
And finally, tonight, there's another scientific research study focusing on sex and cannabis. The Journal of Psychopharmacology has published a study that concludes the relationship between cannabis use and sexuality is complicated. There are differences between the genders and with the amount consumed. First, it shares the research that the use of cannabis does lead to more sex and more enjoyable outcomes. However, the amount of cannabis is the key to reaching the best experiences. Too much cannabis can lead to dysfunction and less enjoyment, maybe a nap. So continue to experiment, but be aware of your doing so. It could inhibit your enjoyment. The research team at the Gonda Multidisciplinary Brain Research Center in Israel reports that, quote, cannabis has the potential to enhance sexual pleasure, reduce inhibitions, alleviate anxiety, and share and promote intimacy and connection with sexual partners, unquote. So careful with what you're doing, but it's, worth the experiment between loving partners. Give it your best shot. Best of all, the report also claims that use of cannabis cuts down on domestic disputes and violence. Sounds like a plan worth pursuing, don't you think? Well, that's this week's Weed Talk News. I'm Alaina Pinto. Remember, it's a whole new world of weed out there. Use it responsibly. We'll see you next time.
We are Pro Cannabis Media.
Coming up on We Talk News this week, WNBA superstar and Olympic champion Brittany Griner gets busted at a Russian airport for carrying hash oil.
Hi, everyone. I'm Alaina Pinto, and this is Weed Talk News.
Hey, everybody, it's Brandon Jones with Big Green Distribution with the Missouri Cannabis Report.
I'm Karen Black from Greenfinger Consulting with the Arizona Cannabis Report.
I'm Matthew Friedlander, coming to you from the owner's office here at Skagit Organics.
I'm Amy Carter from Michigan Weedsters.
My name's Tom. You can find me over at Cannabis and Legalization News.
I'm Jill Goldsberry with We Talk News New Jersey, and we are back.
Andrew Behringer here reporting from Washington, D.C.
Our Canadian correspondent with We Talk News, Debi Facey with the Canadian Toke of the Week.
I'm Doug Miller from High on Wall Street with this week's Cannabis Stock Report for Weed Talk News.